Doamnelor și domnilor, bună ziua și bine ați venit la Ministerul Afacerilor Externe. În continuare, vă invităm să urmăriți conferința de presă comună dedicată încheierii mandatului Republicii Moldova la președinția.
Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs from Moldova, Mr. Popșoi. We will then hear the Secretary General of the Council of Europe, Mr. Alain Berset. After the speeches of the three officials, we will take questions. Mr. Popșoi, you have the floor.
Dear Alain, dear Isabelle, dear representative of the press, the Republic of Moldova has just finished its mandate as President of the Committee Minutes of the Council of Europe, and this is a very important period, in fact, for consolidating our activities in our country, and it's been a mandate based on responsibility and also based on the importance of ensuring the rule of law is applied and European standards too. In 2003, when we had the first presidency of the Council of Europe, Moldova was going through a huge period of change. Today, we are now at a stage which is to join the European Union, and we're actively contributing to the international agenda with a view to developing democracy and the rule of law. The priorities of our term of office were implemented through a comprehensive program, and a number of very important events were held at an international level. Among the most important meetings that have been organized under the presidency were, of course, the conference and the Social Rights Conference in Chisinau and the conference on media literacy. Similarly, we had other meetings held by the Parliamentary Assembly here and committees as well, and the Congress of Local and Regional Authorities. We'd like to express our gratitude for the huge people in the Republic of Moldova and the Council of Europe to ensure the successful organising of these events, which, as I said, were organised under the Moldovan presidency. The democratic development process to promote European values as well as commitments of the Republic of Moldova throughout this period of time. Today, the 15th of May, the presidency has been followed by a session of the Committee of Ministers where a number of delegations took part in the meeting. There were 20 ministers of foreign affairs that turned up at this conference. We had the opportunity to discuss a number of very important issues at the international and national level. Among the most important ones and the most important results of this ministerial are the adoption by the member states of the agreement to set up the special tribunal for the crime of aggression against Ukraine. A large number of states have already confirmed that they'll be signing up to this and adopting this decision, and a decision that has been taken on the creation of a legal instrument also to combat the manipulation of information, and we adopted the Chisinau Declaration related to migration and the European Court of Human Rights and the role it plays. Among the different actions that are important, we adopted also the additional protocol on laundering. Against this backdrop, when we come into the end of our term as presidency, I'd like to wish all the very best to the Principality of Monaco, who will be taking over the presidency of the Council of Europe, and I have no doubt that there will be continuity in the actions carried out between our presidency and the next presidency with regard to consolidating democracy. I'd also like to point out that as part of this very complex mandate we had as President of the committee of ministers, we had a wonderful team of helpers. They all worked ever so hard in a very devoted and applied way. I'm talking about all the support we had also from European institutions in our mandate, and they did everything to ensure that all citizens of the Republic of Moldova could benefit from the different achievements we made. Thank you very much.
Ofer cuvântul domnului Alain Berset.
Thank you very much, dear Minister Popșoi, dear Mihai, dear Minister Berro-Amadeï, dear Isabelle, dear representative of the press. Thank you very much for this occasion to be here together and to present the result of this very important ministerial conference that we hold here in Chisinau today. Today's ministerial session in Chisinau is sending a very clear message. In a time of war, in a time of geopolitical tension, in a time of democratic fragility, Europe law and accountability. That's the main message that we had today. As you know, our discussions focused on democratic security, on strengthening Europe's common legal space. We have the strength to have a common legal space around and among the 46 member states of the Council of Europe, and this is the very important element to always underline and make sure that we live in a world where rules and accountability will prevail. That's the main important point. About today, one of the most important decisions taken today was obviously the establishment of the enlarged partial agreements on the special tribunal. It is a very important moment with 36 countries announcing the willing to join, plus the European Union. This is a major step towards ensuring accountability for Russia's crime of aggression against Ukraine and reaffirming a fundamental principle in Europe: violations of international law cannot remain without response. The second element, very important as well, was this consensual declaration adopted by the 46 member states on migration and the European Convention on Human Rights. This is a very important political signal of support for the convention system and for the independence of the European Court of Human Rights. And the declaration also demonstrates that difficult and sensitive issues can be addressed through dialogue, common standards and the rule of law, and it reaffirms a very important and essential principle: protecting borders and protecting human rights are not contradictory objectives. It must be possible to take this together. Both must be pursued together in line with the Convention. Today's discussion also addressed the growing threat posed by foreign information manipulation and interference. And I'm really also very thankful for the strong support we had through the presidency of Moldova during the last 6 months, but also before, and I know that we will continue after the presidency to tackle this issue. These attacks seek to weaken democratic institutions, polarize societies, undermine public trust. They are a direct challenge to democratic security, and that is why member states asked today the Council of Europe to prepare proposals for a possible legal instrument in this field. Let me now take all those elements together. All together, the elements I mentioned shows and underline that the Council of Europe is not only defending principles. We are obviously defending principles, but we are also providing practical, legal and political responses to the major challenges facing Europe on those times. And the Council of Europe remains Europe's common legal space, as I mentioned before, a space where states can address difficult issues through dialogue and law rather than confrontation. And at a particular time of rupture, of uncertainty, protecting and strengthening this common legal space matters more than ever. So finally, I would like to thank the Republic of Moldova for its strong leadership and commitment during the presidency, and thank you to you, Mihai, to the ambassador, Kuzba, that led also the work in Strasbourg, for this presidency of the Committee of Ministers, and also take the occasion to welcome Monaco at this very important moment. We are really looking forward to collaborating for making progress the goals that we have together in this common legal space that I mentioned before, and it will be a pleasure and an honor to work with you. Thank you.
Vă mulțumim, domnule Berset. Cuvântul se oferă doamnei Berro-Amadeï.
Monsieur le ministre, cher Mihai,
Dear Mihai, thank you. I'd like to pass my greetings to representative of the press, and please allow me, first of all, to pass on my warmest congratulations and thanks to you, Mihai, for your wonderful welcome. I'd like to also pay tribute to the quality of the work carried out by the Republic of Moldova during its presidency of the Council of Europe. For your continued commitment and for contributing to the success of your mandate. Thank you ever so much for what you've had to do. It's in the extension, the furtherance of this, that Monaco wishes for the very first time in its history to take over the presidency of the Council of Europe. We'll be carrying out this presidency with a number of objectives. We feel that any state, regardless of its size, should be able to play its part in contributing in an efficient and constructive way to the work of the Council of Europe. This conviction makes perfect sense given the current backdrop in which we're working. The law is being called into question increasingly, and there is balance of power struggle in many countries, and the Council of Europe is needed more than ever. Our presidency will therefore be characterized by a leitmotif of a number of commitments made by the Principality and to cover the different challenges our societies are facing. This will be characterized by having a Council of Europe that's an efficient organization, able to respond to the different challenges. First, we're protecting all people, defending the rights of all people. This is at the heart of our actions. We want to protect European citizens, we want to promote inclusive societies. This will be also a key priority. Protecting the rights of women and girls and combating all forms of violence, especially domestic violence, which continues to be a scourge for women in a very disproportionate way. Also, working with young people will be a priority action of our presidency, because they are, of course, the future of our societies. Strengthening the protection of their rights and promoting their participation in democratic societies is one of our priorities as well. Faced with digital challenges and disinformation and radicalization, it's of vital importance for us to adapt to the current challenges. Moreover, in Monaco, we feel strongly that sport has a very important role to play, both as a vehicle of cohesion, especially among young people. And if we want sport to make full use of its strength and power, it needs to be done in an environment which protects people from all forms of violence and which promotes in all areas well-being and people fulfilling their development. In November of this year, we'll be organising the 19th Sports Ministerial of the Council of Europe in Monaco, which will bring together ministers responsible for sport, and we'll be dealing with the issue of sport for one, sport for all. Secondly, we need to have an efficient organisation. The Monegasque presidency intends to ensure that the organisation continues to work smoothly and efficiently. An efficient organisation of the Council of Europe means it needs to be able to come up with political and legal answers to the problems faced. With this in mind, we'll try and promote a regular dialogue and cooperation with member states. We'll promote consultations, we'll be listening to different views, and we'll promote collective actions. The Principality will also commit to the full implementation of the European Convention of Human Rights and the independence of the court. The court is the last bastion and the last protection, and this is the case for more than 700 million Europeans. Thirdly, we want to meet current challenges in the presidency. This is an increasingly difficult backdrop. Faced with threats that do not know any borders, there are direct consequences in our different countries with regard to human rights, the rule of law and democracy. Monaco will attach huge importance to strengthening cooperation between states, especially in the context of combating organized crime in all its forms. The informal conference of Ministers of Justice will be held in June of 2027, and this will be devoted to combating money laundering. There will be a strategic dialogue opened as well to look at the efficiency of the different judicial systems, sharing best practice, and coming up with coordinated answers. And lastly, of course, the answer to the war for aggression waged by Russia in Ukraine will be a natural priority of our presidency. It will remain at the heart of our actions, guided by a clear commitment to protect the civilians who are being affected by this war. Ladies and gentlemen, over the period of the 6 months presidency, the Principality of Monaco will be firmly committed to promote efficient multilateralism, predicated on dialogue and seeking out constructive solutions, democratic security and resilience. Thank you very much indeed.
Vă mulțumim frumos. Acum vom prelua câteva întrebări de la jurnaliști.
Daniela Danilova, TVR Moldova. O întrebare către toți oficialii. Astăzi s-a votat o rezoluție.
Thank you. Today, we heard some very interesting information about the signing of the agreement about the creation of the Special Tribunal for the crime of aggression. Can you tell us exactly what measures will be carried out following the signing of this agreement? Sorry.
Iar ulterior să aibă efecte juridice și acest mecanism care a fost aprobat astăzi.
So we need to make sure that the relevant actions are taken in order for everything to have a proper impact.
No, I mean we are foreseen to have the tribunal in the Netherlands. That means we are also in contact with the Netherlands for the concrete steps. And we had in the recent past also the whole preparation with an advanced team financed by the European Union to prepare all the legal instruments. Today is really an important milestone because from today we have by this very first moment 36 states declaring the readiness to join to the European Union, and then we will continue, I mean, on that path for making the institution being established and having a seat somewhere and starting to work.
Vă rog, următoarea întrebare.
Iulia Sarivan, TVP. So my question is for all three officials. The Council of Europe states that this tribunal must target high-ranking political and military leaders who decided on or carried out the aggression against Ukraine. The question is, why is the International Criminal Court in The Hague not sufficient, and why was a new legal framework necessary? And is this a genuine gap in the international law or a political solution to a legal impasse?
Well, I guess the answer is from the sheer workload that such a tribunal would have to undertake. It would make a lot more sense from a practical standpoint, but also from a legal standpoint, to have a separate entity, and that has been the legal experience and the historical experience. Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia, Tribunal for genocide in Rwanda, the Nuremberg Tribunal. So all those violations of international law, given the scale of those violations, warrant a separate tribunal with a separate secretariat and a number of judges and resources in order to thoroughly investigate and prosecute these crimes against humanity.
You want an additional answer? Maybe just an additional point. It is, from the moment where the UN General Assembly recognized that what's happening in Ukraine is a crime of aggression. It was in March 22 with a clear, strong majority of states. Then it was also considered that there was no court competence to address this, and that's why a core group started to work, because it's not possible to have a lack in the system. And then it was decided to create a special tribunal, and it has been asked to the Council of Europe to organize all the work for doing this. That means, why not the ICC? Because the ICC has been considered by all the specialists not being competent without to change the rules, and it was decided then by the states of the core group to create a special tribunal.
Vă rog întrebarea următoare.
Hello, John Stone from Politico. A question for the Secretary General. Do you think today's migration declaration will stop those parties who wish to undermine the convention? And you've referred to the Chisinau process as a process. Is there a next step to this process?
Well, the first element, it has been in the last year, 1 year since the letter of the nine, so-called letter of the nine, that was openly published, I think in May 2025. And in 1 year, what we did organize a 4-point plan to address different elements on migration issues, and one of those was to prepare this political declaration that was consensually adopted today. It is a very strong signal because it shows two things. First of all, it underlines the fact that multilateral organizations must be able and are able to take, including complex issues from the national level, and to discuss this together. That's really important to be able to do this, to objectivize the facts, the situations, to have those discussions. And then the second element, it is possible to work towards a consensual approach with a political declaration. What does it mean? We know now what the 46 member states thinks together about migration issues and what we need to look in. It doesn't mean that they agree on everything, They have a consensual approach, and then migration with policy, with laws is to address at the national level. And as you know, I was traveling a bit in the last weeks. The migration issues and what is seen as a migration concern in Denmark is not the same thing as what is seen as a migration issue in Italy. And it is not the same as what is seen as a migration issue in the Baltic states with hybrid threats at the border. That means if we want to have productive discussions, if we want to make some progress, and not just to create frustration, we need to start like we did in the Council of Europe, addressing things together, and it is a movement. It is a dynamic. It will continue. I'm quite sure that we will have further discussions on migration, and it's not an end. But we also demonstrated that it was possible to have a productive discussion on this.
Vă mulțumim. Următoarea întrebare.
Thank you. Daniel Zidman from Danish newspaper. Do you understand why, for example, Danish politicians have a need to do something with this migration problem as we have in Denmark?
If I understand if migration can be a concern, a political concern in a country, obviously. I was also a member of a government during 12 years. And it is clearly a political issue everywhere. Then the question is how to tackle this, how to organize a productive discussion, and it is really the role of the states at the national level to take this issue. And then, when we have, it was the case last year, a certain frustration and question asked at the multilateral level, then we need to take this at in the right channel. That means not making a pressure on the court, not undermining independence of the court. Who would do this also at the national level? We want exactly the opposite. But at the same time, recognizing that migration is an issue and being able to take this together. Obviously, it's an issue, it's normal, with different elements in different countries. And that makes the difficulty when we need to address this together at the international level.
Can I ask one more?
I'm not deciding, I'm just answering.
I just wanted to know, do you think that this declaration made today will change how the Human Rights Court interpret the convention?
You know, the court is independent, and as I was telling you before, it is really important to underline this independence of the court. I mean, what we would never accept at the national level, that means making pressure on courts, is as well not to accept at the international level for the interpretation of the convention. But saying this, it must be possible to address migration issues at the political level and to have an idea about what are thinking governments together on this. It's exactly what was happening with the declaration, and I can imagine that, you know, everybody is working with this, following what is happening, and it is probably playing a certain role as well. It's maybe not so, you know, spectacular what was happening, but that's real life. That's not entertainment. That's real life. And I think what we demonstrated in a few months, the first ministerial conference on this in Strasbourg was in December, 11th of December. A few months later, under the leadership of the Moldovan presidency, we have been able to deliver here a declaration, consensual declaration. It's really an important step, and certainly we play a role in the how we shape the whole discussions also at the international level.
Vă mulțumim. Următoarea întrebare, dacă mai avem.
One more. Nikita Skoblikov, Ukrainian International TV channel Freedom. So a question for Mr. Berset. I'd like to ask about on tribunal also. Russia has signaled that they will not recognize the results of the tribunal. So what instruments will you use to pressure to make real decisions? As Russia says, they don't recognize it, and just like that.
Well, the first element maybe, and maybe the Minister want also to bring some elements on this. The first element is we are dedicated to build an unprecedented framework for accountability. It is also a question about principles, you know. We don't want to live in a world where destruction, war, violence, force and impunity will prevail. We want to live in a world where peaceful relations, rule of law and accountability will prevail. That's the first element. And it is based, this accountability framework is based on 3 pillars. The first one is the European Court of Human Rights. Never forget, please, that this court is addressing an everyday violations of human rights in the conflict, in the context of the conflict in the war in Ukraine. The second pillar is about the Register of Damage and the Claims Commission that we created in last December. Register of Damage 23, Claims Commission 25, and it is progressing. And the third pillar is about the tribunal. Now we are making one step after another, and we are creating this accountability framework one step after another. How it looks at the end, I mean, we need to continue to progress. And the question that you are asking now, I don't know exactly how it will look like. Exactly in the same situation, I would have been incapable to answer a question 2 years ago about a special tribunal. We are progressing. We are putting principles and accountability before other elements because it is the role of the Council of Europe, and it is like, you know, climbing mountains. If we want to make a jump to the top, you will never reach the top. You need to start to walk one step after another. It's exactly what we are doing, and we are delivering it, by the way, since many years on these issues.
Dacă nu mai avem întrebări, vă mulțumim. Conferința a luat sfârșit.